Hey folks, it's Andrew from Gemba Red, and today we've got an exciting video to give you some tips on how to reduce the EMFs from your incandescent heat lamps. And this also works for any LED bulbs, like if you get an LED bulb, if you want to reduce the electric field from that, we're gonna show you how to do that. You might have seen some of my previous videos where I've shown that even incandescent bulbs you can get high electric fields. On the LED bulbs, you get high electric fields because the enclosure itself is not grounded. So you want to be able to ground that. That drops the electric field, and a lot of people aren't being told this because a lot of people are being told that incandescent bulbs, especially, they have no EMF, no flicker, they've got all these magical benefits, and usually that's coming from people who are trying to upsell you on the benefits of it. When one of the real reasons why incandescent bulbs are so great is simply because they're cheap. And there's a very stark contrast between, what's out there on the market between versus what the brand Sauna Space makes. They make these very extravagant enclosures around their bulbs that blocks the electric fields, that blocks the EMFs. So people are paying hundreds of dollars for these enclosures on one hand, and then on the other hand, they're being told that incandescent bulbs don't make EMFs. So it's kind of a weird business model that supposedly they're blocking EMFs even though there are no EMFs. So what's the truth of the matter? So we do know that you get the electric field from the AC grid that's cycling through. There's not much you can do to avoid that. With my LED devices, I can make them very low EMF because I can use a DC adapter. But with these, you want to make sure they're grounded. And I've shown you before in some previous videos, and that's why I'm doing this follow-up video, is I showed you my very expensive stainless steel heat lamp device here, which is just used for catering, right? It's used in the catering, it keeps your food warm, so it's supposed to be aiming down at some food and it keeps the food warm. And I thought that would be a great hack to get something because it uses 3 prongs and it's grounded and it's metal. So this is much lower EMF than say a generic kind of heat dish that you can get. But you can go search for it. Search for stainless steel catering dish. This isn't a model that's on the market. Don't ask me for where I got it. But you can search. You can find them. Just search stainless steel catering heat lamp thing, and you can find it. You can Google search. But when you find them, they're like $500. So again, that kind of destroys the business model, or the attractiveness to the consumer that LED bulbs are supposed to be pretty cheap. These incandescent bulbs are supposed to be really cheap. That's the great part. You can access them. You can try them out. There's not a lot of worry. But then some companies say, oh, well, you got to buy my very expensive lamp because it's magical and it's got all these extra features and we're low EMF. But they don't teach you the basics of EMF. They don't teach you how to control it for yourself. And then you're trapped and you have to buy from them because they're charlatans and they don't give you any other options. So I'm going to give you some info. I don't make any money off of where you buy any of these accessories I'm going to show you. So we're going to get rid of this, get it out of our minds. But, I'll just show you just to remind you. I've got my, kind of nice EMF detector. We're just looking for the electric field that's in volts per meter. And, we can hold it up to this, and there's really no change from kind of the ambient environment. So it's pretty low. It says 40 or 50. And then when I bring it up to this, it goes up pretty good. Goes up to 200. So this is an ungrounded lamp. So you can see it's a big difference. And potentially, people can really, really upsell you on, hey, you want something that's truly low EMF, you have to buy this expensive thing that only I make, right? So we're going to get rid of this, get this out of our mind. I'm sorry I showed it to people. Everyone's asking me for it. Even if you can find something like this, it's not practical. It's too expensive. So I'm going to show you a really cheap way to reduce the EMFs on just these guys. So you don't have to buy very expensive things. You can get a cheap heat lamp from GE, Philips, FET electric. Don't let anyone upsell you. I did a whole video testing each one. There's no technology that you can put in an incandescent bulb that really differentiates it, that really makes it worth, even spending $10 more, $20 more, or, in some cases $90 more. And if they do differentiate it, we found the Sauna space bulb was consuming 290 watts, as opposed to, these bulbs are supposed to be 250 watts. That's what they advertised. But they kind of trick you and they say, oh, we've got this magical 250 watt bulb that emits more power. Well, that, they're defying physics. They just cranked up the power. It's not actually 250 watt, it's 290. And the lamp that I prefer is actually from Tractor Supply, and it's only rated for 250 watts. So you really shouldn't be pushing it and putting a 290 watt bulb in. Hopefully Sauna Space has put out a memo about their bulbs that you got to make sure. This one has a very clear warning. Do not put anything higher than 250 watts in it. Risk of fire, risk of damage. So, it's a very important thing to take this seriously. Not just, oh, we gave you all this power, all this intensity. If you look at Dr. Wilson's website that does the sauna thing, that a lot of people are into this for, it looks like he doesn't even recommend using those higher end brands, those expensive brands. He says maybe it's too hot. So, it's a very interesting kind of contrast of like, they're trying to sell you something that's too hot. They're trying to block EMFs, and they don't teach you, what they're doing or how. So I'll give you some quick tips how we can reduce it affordably. You can get this stuff cheap. If you're worried about EMF and that was what was holding you back from getting a cheap thing, the dish is $10, a bulb's $10. Maybe you spend a little bit more for this EMF mitigation that I'm going to show you, and that should be it. So let's get started. Someone in my previous video actually recommended this lamp is from QC Supply. So thanks for your comments. So someone was doing some Google searches, and they found this lamp comes grounded, which is really cool. So the ground wire has to travel along the cord. It uses a 3-prong, power cord. And then, but with like the Huga lamp, the Huga LED bulb, that had a 3-prong cord as well. But the ground didn't really go anywhere, so that's why it was still high EMF. This ground, you can see, comes out as green. Usually grounds are green. And it comes and it attaches it to the dish. So that helps reduce the electric field, kind of bringing that electric field back to ground. So you're not exposed to it. So that's a really clever thing. So again, that came from QC Supply. Thanks for leaving that comment. The problem I had is that they just use a standard little screw here, and the screw was protruding so far that if I tried to put in the bulb would get scratched by the screw they put in here. So you can fix that by maybe you can pull it out a little bit, but then it's not snug and it's not making that good electrical connection. So what I had to do, I had to take the bolt out completely, and then I used some bolt cutters to cut it down, and then I was able to put my bulb in. So, and then my other problem with the QC Supply is that it didn't come with a nice clamp, which, the clamps make it really convenient to clamp onto stuff and adjust it. It didn't come with the clamp. Maybe that's a separate accessory. I kind of must have missed it on the website. So it didn't come with the clamp. And then some of the other metallic stuff was also kind of protruding very far into here. So this is one thing you can buy it. I forget the price, but it's much more affordable than a Sauna Space where, you're scared into that's the only option. So without any work at all, well, you got to put some work into it to adjust that screw. So it's not a great. I wasn't too happy with that. I thought this would be a very simple solution. You can just buy it, a grounded lamp, and that would be good. You know, and you can make it work. But so that's one option. So I'll show you the EMF measurement for that. But let's get to this too. So I got this, like I said, from Tractor Supply. This is probably one of my favorite ones because it comes with this. You go to the store, and this comes all kind of pre-assembled, so I don't have to adjust it. It's got a pretty good clamp to it. But, you know, there's no grounding. So what do? So I went to Digikey. I thought I was really coming up with something really clever. I went to Digikey. They sell a lot of really good electronics parts. And I found this piece first. This is just a ground adapter. So there's two prongs here that are plastic, so you know they're not doing anything. And then the one piece here is your ground. So you can connect, you plug this into ground. This is a slot for a banana clip or a banana wire or whatever. So you get the banana wire, also sold on Digikey. So we got the banana wire. So that plugs in here. And whenever you're doing something like this, if you're grounding something, you also get that, you know, little 3-prong tester. You can just get at any hardware store. Don't ask me for brands or whatever. You know, I found one at Harbor Freight Tools. It's super cheap. You get that thing that lights up when you plug it in that confirms your house is properly grounded. Otherwise, there's no point. Or it could be bad if your wiring's wrong. So anyway, so you got this, and actually a lot of these come with the little alligator clamps. So you plug that in. I've already got one set up. I plugged it in to my 3-prong piece. So now I can clamp this somewhere onto the metal. And sometimes if I want it somewhere kind of out of the way, I can clamp it back on the stem here. So sometimes I just kind of clamp it back here. And that should also reduce the EMFs. Really simple, really cheap. So let's turn it back on. And let's test it out. Remember, it was up to about 200 last time. So what do we see? It's down to 20. Yeah, significantly lower. Watch me, I'll remove the alligator. And it jumps back up to 100. You know, jumps up to over 100. So again, super simple. An immediate reduction. Where'd my clip go? So I put that back on. And it drops back down to 30. This one should be pretty low as well. This one's down to 30, 29. So again, super low EMF just from both of these. So that's it. That's the whole hack. And I've been surprised. There's a lot of people that do these incandescent saunas, or they use it just for spot treatment, for heat therapy. And that's great. And, you know, a lot of people are worried about EMFs. You can reduce it super easily. I'll show you the links to Digikey. And then later I found you can find these a lot easier. You can find them on Amazon, on eBay. Sometimes they're called ESD reduction kits because it's electrostatic dissipation kind of kit. So you can find, I'll just link to some of the ESD kits on Amazon or eBay too. So you can buy it somewhere, you know, you're more comfortable with than going to Digikey, and sometimes they charge you for shipping. And it's already out there. You know, you don't have to get anything fancy. So again, it's just something you plug into your outlet, you clamp it on, and then I was going to tell you is if, let's say you have a sauna where you have multiple lamps, one of the things you can do rather than plugging in 4 or 5 different ESD clamps, what you really can do, and maybe I can show you this concept like this. So I'll remove the clamp from here. And I'm going to connect, because I know this one's grounded. So say you have, you know, if they're all from Tractor Supply, then You have one that's grounded directly. So let's say this one's grounded directly. And then the banana clips usually come with two ends for the alligator clamp. So if I clamp from here to here, now I'm carrying the ground from one lamp to the other lamp. So you don't have to plug in, 4 or 5 different ESD blockers. You can just have one lamp that's grounded directly, and then you can carry, just with double-ended banana clips with the alligators. And, again, just search for alligator clamps or whatever. Then you go from each of your lamps to each of your lamps and make sure they're all grounded, and we can recheck that real quick. Yeah. So, yeah, it's back to 30. So it's the same. It's the same as if it was grounded directly. It's down to 40 or mid 30s. So it's pretty much the same as if it was grounded directly. And now, you can simplify it. If you've got, like I said, 3 or 4 or 5 lamps that you made into a sauna, you can find a good guide by Quantified Bob. I'll put a link in the description for that. I'll try to put links, for all this stuff. And then you just go boom, boom, boom. So you ground one, then you connect them in series, so they're all grounded. And that's it. Now you've got, an even lower EMF sauna than you started out. You don't have to spend a ton of money to reduce the EMFs with, companies that say, oh, you got to reduce the EMFs with your incandescent bulbs, even though a lot of people lie to you and say incandescent bulbs don't have EMF. So hopefully this helps. Like I said, you can plug in your LED bulbs if you got Huga or Wolzeki or whatever those brands are. You can, if you want to ground those bulbs as well. Hopefully this is a helpful tip for you that I haven't seen anyone really tell you about, maybe because they're profiting from upselling you some fancy brand. But now you can buy this mitigation. I think it's, 10, 15 bucks. Buy a lamp, buy a cheap bulb from Philips, GE, FET Electric, and that's it. Try it out. The investment's only 30 or 40 bucks, and you get this thing that everyone else is upselling you. Oh, you get these magical benefits. You get those, if they're true. And I did a whole thing busting myths about heat lamps, and a lot of people took that as a challenge for them to come up with new myths. But there's still a lot of benefits. You can try it out really cheap. Don't let people upsell you. I've got enough, in my other videos, I showed you all the different lamps that you don't have to buy the expensive lamps. There's nothing fancy about them. In fact, they can be detrimental if you don't pay attention to the wattage. So, hopefully this really helps get that information out there. You can ground your lamps real easy. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you can share, let people know, there's cheap solutions out there. Thanks.